Hey guys, I'm back with another video. This is going to be a short one. I don't know if I'm even going to call this a review really, but I'm going to talk about Fire Emblem Fates Revelation. And right off the bat, I'm not going to spoil anything for those that haven't finished Birthright or Conquest yet, but I just wanted to give kind of my impressions on Fire Emblem Fates as a whole, and whether I feel it's really worth it to get all three versions. We'll start with the story. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything here, but yes, basically with this one, you're not picking either side, and you kind of the cool thing about it is the fact that you have these interactions with characters from both sides, and you can even have like children with two characters from the complete opposite sides, and they all eventually join you. But the story overall has a more satisfying conclusion than the other two games. This does actually feel like the end of the story overall, but it's still not great. The story is still, like, for the first half of this game, you're seeing a lot of story beats that you've already seen before in both Conquest and Birthright, so I was very tempted to just skip past everything, because it really felt like deja vu for me. But in the second half, different things start happening. There's some plot twists, but that, are pretty entertaining, but not really unexpected. But the story overall is probably the best here in the three games, and it is better once you've played the other two games, but it's still not great. The writing is still not fantastic. Like, the story is generally pretty simplistic and kind of there's a lot of stupid shit in it. I'm not gonna lie, but it's not one of the game's highlights. I'll give it that. I think Awakening probably even had the better story overall, even though the story in this one is across three different games. But yeah, if you're planning to play through all three just for like the story and to see how it ends, you might be disappointed. It's not it's not great for sure. And gameplay-wise, I actually feel like Revelation is actually the weakest of the three. Some people might think it's the best of the three. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but generally the gameplay is pretty much the same, so I'm not going to explain things too much. But it's basically like a mix of the two games, where you have the ability to grind whenever you want, grind up supports and experience and things like that. But the objectives, the map objectives, are more varied, like in Conquest. But I found that they're more gimmicky in Revelation. Like, honestly, a lot of the maps in this game really were irritating. There were a couple cool ones. One in the early game where you had like all this ice around, and you kind of had like to dig through the ice, sort of, to kind of uncover enemies, which was kind of neat. But later in the game, there's some really annoying maps. Like one where you have to keep teleporting your guys around the map to get to these dragon veins to unlock the path to the boss, and it just takes forever. Like, and you have to split up your party, and the enemies are so overpowered. It's really frustrating. There's another level where it's almost like a stealth mission, where if enemies detect you, or you kill an enemy, a bunch of other enemies will just like come in, like reinforcements. Like, so many maps in this game, there's reinforcements everywhere coming in constantly, and it's just frustrating, and it just prolongs the battles in a way that's just not fun. So yeah, I was actually kind of disappointed with the map designs. Like, Conquest, I feel, just had better varied map designs without being annoying, with the exception of the wind map, which makes a return in Revelation, of course. And a lot of these maps are pretty similar to ones, especially in the first half of the game, to ones you've seen in Birthright or Conquest. So, I don't know, it's a little disappointing in that regard. But the core gameplay is still fun. It's still fun leveling up these characters, and there's and having the interactions between the two different sides. You can even have both weapon stores from both sides in your castle. But other than that, it's generally the same from what you've seen in Revelation and Conquest and Birthright. The game took me, what was it, 25 hours? So took me slightly longer than Birthright, because that game was really easy. But it's not as long as Conquest. But I feel like that's probably because I played that game first. But Revelation is the hardest of the three, but I think the difficulty is actually a little too much in this game. Like, the final mission in this game, it's fucking insane. I was actually tempted to actually go with Phoenix mode. I was playing without permadeath, and I was not able to get through this mission. So I figured, you know what? They probably expect you to grind. So that's what I did. I grinded like mad. And they do give you some overpowered characters, Ryoma and Xander. You get both of them, and they're like super OP. So that helps a bit. But like I said before, the missions are really frustrating. Reinforcements are constantly coming in. They're really long too, so it was, I don't know, it was just irritating. And the final mission, like, it's just ridiculous, like of the shit that they throw at you. But yeah, I gotta say, I was more frustrated with this one than the other two. So gameplay wise, it's probably my least favorite of the three, surprisingly enough. But story wise, it's probably the best of the three, but still not great. But at the end of the day, do I feel like it was worth it getting all three games? Probably not. You know what? I gotta be honest. I feel like I maybe wasted my money. I mean, the gameplay remains fun across all three games, and if you just love Fire Emblem, you have to have a bunch of Fire Emblem content. You want hundreds of hours of content because it's almost 100 hours between the three games. Then it's probably worth it. But if you're a more casual fan of the series like me, or kind of interested in the story, I don't think it's worth it. I think you can just buy one of the games and be satisfied with the ending, with the gameplay, depending on what suits your tastes better, and you'd be fine with it. And you're saving some money because you're spending an extra. For me, it's like 25 plus 25. Like it's almost like an extra $50 for the other two parts, and I just didn't enjoy them. It was like diminished returns basically with Fire Emblem Fates, but yeah. So yeah, it depends on who you are really, as far as if I want to recommend getting all three games. It's probably a better deal getting that special edition where you get all three on one cart. In that case, it's fine. But yeah, if you're like me and have to resort to getting one game physically and the rest downloadable, or all three or both games physically separate and then Revelation downloadable, I don't know. It's probably not worth it unless you're a hardcore Fire Emblem fan and just want that, like, tons of that great gameplay. Because I'll be honest, I was feeling burnout in Revelation particularly, and maybe I would have enjoyed them more if I kind of spaced them out. I didn't play all three in a row, so I basically played 4 Fire Emblem games in a row with Awakening before this. So yeah, I think it's going to be a while till I play another Fire Emblem game. But it's nice to know I'm actually a fan of this series now. I really do enjoy it. But yeah, that's my kind of, I don't know what I'm going to call this. It's probably going to be a review of Fire Emblem Revelation, like, I don't know, spoiler free review. But that's it, guys. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.